This is my scene analysis on Pulp Fiction, the burger scene. Quentin Tarantino is a master when it comes to crafting and executing film techniques, and Pulp Fiction is to show for it. This scene, dubbed the hamburger scene, is known for its amazingly crafted dialogue and two-act structure. These two key features of the scene are what make a 9-minute scene, where very little action actually happens, so enjoyable for the viewer. The scene relies on the tension built by the unpredictability of Jules as a character, as well as the expectations the audience has based on the action and drama movie tropes. By showing us viewers a loading of weapons prior to entering the building, Tarantino builds the expectation that people are going to be shot or hurt. By forecasting this action, the viewer is expecting violence and brutality, yet the dialogue of the scene is contradictory to this forecasting.
Check out the big brain on bread!
Rather than breaking guns blazing, Jules and Vincent walk in, acting nice. There is no open conflict or violence as the viewer is expecting, but there is the subtext of it. This subtext is the root of the tension so key to this scene. As a viewer, we don't know Jules' intentions. We aren't sure whether his goal is to kill or intimidate. This tension is built over the consequences of his actions. Jules is instantly put into a position of power over Brett and his friends, a key to heightening the subtext of the looming threat. Jules' dialogue throughout the scene is seemingly innocent and friendly, while the subtext of his dialogue and his actions is a clear message of his power and dominance over Brett.
Hey kids, how you boys doing? Hey, keep chilling. You know who we are? We're associates of your business partner, Marcellus Wallace. You do remember your business partner, don't you? Now let me take a wild guess here. You're Brett, right?
Yeah.
I thought so.
At the start of the scene, Jules greets the room with a seemingly friendly,
Hey kids, how you boys doing?
By saying this, he is making it implicitly clear that Jules sees Brett and his friends as below him. He tells Brett's friend to keep relaxing, preventing him from getting up and keeping him on his back. This appears friendly, as if to say don't bother getting up in my presence, but in reality, it is much harder to dodge bullets while lying down. Within the first few moments of the scene, Jules establishes a dominant position of power and control through the use of dialogue. The primary tool Tarantino uses to position Jules in a dominant position is the use of questions. Asking questions is a common way writers can make characters feel powerful to the audience. By asking questions, Jules is able to control the flow of the conversation. Jules is able to control the dialogue through constant questioning, and so he is able to control what is discussed in the conversation. Not only is Jules asking questions of Brett, but he's asking questions with obvious answers.
Me and Vincent caught you boys at breakfast. Sorry about that. Did you have it?
Hamburgers.
Hamburger!
In this example, the burger is out in the open for everyone to see. This is to make the character feel condescending, as if Jules is toying with Brett. This builds on his position of dominance. Nearly every question Jules asks, he already has the answer to, but at the same time, the back and forth of the conversation comes off as small talk. Jules is controlling the conversation in a way that appears as nice, which is why the scene feels so wrong to the viewer. It's the subtext of intimidation and the tension of violence that gives this scene its power.
Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time.
To summarize, the whole scene is given power through the use of tension. The tension is created from the threat of violence. The tension becomes more threatening the more powerful Jules becomes. The dialogue uses subtext to enhance Jules' authority without the explicit use of violence more common in 3-act structures and typical drama/action films. This first part of the scene is important in developing the director's purpose that carries throughout the film. Through the use of this dialogue and Jules as a character, Tarantino is quickly separating his movie from the more traditional drama. These complicated layers of subtext and tension interplay to keep the viewer on edge, unsure of what to expect. This is a key characteristic of Tarantino's films and sets the scene for the rest of the movie. Tarantino is able to use the scene to further stand out from the crowd by utilizing a two-act structure. A typical scene of this kind, in which the boss's cronies are sent to retrieve some goods and kill the people in possession of said goods, can be broken down into a short 3-act scene. This is to say that there is an intro, midsection, and climax. Any writer could have taken these events and constructed a short, action-filled 30-second scene. Tarantino, however, saw this scene as an opportunity for such complex dialogue previously examined, and so chose a 2-act structure. Typical scenes in a 3-act structure are meant to show the gradual rise to a climax with a descent into a resolution. Scenes of a 2-act structure showcase an abrupt change, designed to juxtapose the two story halves against each other.
Sorry about that.
By utilizing this structure, Tarantino is able to effectively develop his director's purpose by bolstering the sense of unpredictability the viewer has built up throughout the scene. The bare action of the scene is limited. As the viewer, we are shown the importance of the briefcase, but not what's in it. We are taught the power of Marcellus Wallace, but we do not learn what Brett has done to upset him. The action in the scene does not warrant a 7+ minute scene, but Tarantino recognizes that a 30-second action-filled scene would be a waste. As a good director, Tarantino is constantly looking for good ways to entertain his audience and to build character development, and in this case, that means dramatizing the simple. By conforming the scene to a 2-act structure, Tarantino is able to slow the scene down significantly through the use of dialogue. The dialogue, so key to building the tension and unpredictability associated with the Tarantino name. The ability to craft such effective dialogue that appears as simple conversation, coupled with the flawless use of a 2-act structure, highlights Tarantino's ability to dramatize a scene. It perfectly outlines the director's purpose for the film and keeps the viewer on the edge of their seat going forward. The use of specific camera angles in the scene help to further reinforce the dominance Jules has asserted over Brett, and helps to highlight the power dynamic in the room. Initially, the first few shots meet Jules, Vincent, and Brett at eye level. This matches the initial power dynamic in the room, as Jules has not yet made a clear assertion of dominance. But within a few moments, Tarantino uses Jules' dialogue to give him total control of the conversation previously examined. By asking just 2 simple questions about Brett's business partner, he has implied his intentions and struck fear into Brett and his friends. The implication that Jules has been sent by Marcellus shows that he is clearly in power, and he further asserts his dominance by putting pressure on Brett to answer his questions. This is the point at which clear dominance has been asserted, and so the camera angles shift. Rather than meeting both Brett and Jules at eye level, Jules is now shown from a lower camera angle, emphasizing his position of power, while Brett remains at eye level. Brett's friends are now shown from a higher angle, emphasizing that Brett is in charge of them and hence is majorly responsible for their actions. This sets a scene for further witty dialogue as Jules toys with Brett. The positioning and use of props is the last key technique I will be discussing, as it acts to bolster both the dialogue and structure previously examined throughout the scene. Several key props are used throughout the scene, but the most prominent of which is the table, positioned central to the room. As a prop, the table is used to signify the power dynamic in the room, as well as the drastic change in Jules' behavior. While Brett's friends are positioned to the side of the room, Brett is sat central, allowing for the dialogue between Brett and Jules to stay center to the scene. This is an important visual cue that ensures the physical hierarchy of power in the room matches that of the dialogue between characters. The table also serves as a relief valve of the slowly built up tension throughout the scene. Jules flipping the table signifies the turn and structure of the scene, as it represents the revelation of the subtext in Jules' dialogue and actions. The table emphasizes a sharp turn in Jules' demeanor, as the climax of tension begins to unfold and the audience's expectations are finally met. Another key prop in play is Brett's meal, sat on top of the table. This meal is used in conjunction with both Jules' dialogue and the camera positioning around him to emphasize his dominance over Brett. Jules continues his previously examined questioning dialogue, asking Brett if he can indulge in his burger, and later to wash it down with his Sprite. This once again serves to build the subtext of Jules' dialogue, as it appears as if he is asking and that Brett has the option to refuse. In reality, Brett has no option but to sit while Jules stares him down, enjoying his meal while simultaneously embarrassing him, further bolstering his dominance. The use and positioning of props and various camera angles play a key role in developing Jules' witty character by entertaining the viewer through his toying of the dominance that he holds over Brett. This character development reinforces Tarantino's purpose with the film, as he is commanding the film to be set out from the rest, and employing the necessary techniques to successfully hook the viewer. The classic drama tropes are forgotten, and Tarantino uses less common, yet all the more effective for it, techniques such as the 2-act structure and dialogue choice. This scene is a perfect example of Tarantino's ingenious crafting ability, and highlights why his films are so successful. I hope you enjoyed this scene analysis as much as I enjoyed this film.